Now, Epic purchases Artstation, and Kyle is here to tell us why this is probably the best thing that's ever happened.
You son of a bitch. So for me personally, like I don't really do digital art. Like I used to as a hobby, but I don't even do it anymore. But for a lot of the people I work with on our indie team, there are a lot of artists we have, and a lot of them were actually really agitated at this. And it wasn't necessarily the fact that like, oh, a studio bought them or whatever. It's the fact that a company like Epic Games, which has got a big shareholder of Tencent inside them, this is the big concern because we all know China is totally like free speech and they're totally okay with you posting or drawing whatever you want as long as you praise the CCP. Well, a lot of the artists I work with don't praise the CCP. They're actually big critics of it. And so the concern is among a lot of them, like our animator I know just recently left Artstation. He actually just pulled everything off of it. And that's a guy by the name of Cashew. Now, the thing is with that, what's bad about that in my mind is the fact that think about it. Artists don't have a lot of places to go. Like to post their art. Like what is left? Like DeviantArt, there's a couple other ones. Like you can technically do it on Pinterest and Twitter, but that's not like really efficient. Ko-Fi, I know people do that there. But like ArtStation was like a big one for a lot of artists. And I think that Epic getting their little grubby fingers in there is a bad thing in the long run. Because I feel like they're going to start censoring artists because China generally doesn't like that. Like, I'm pretty sure Epic Games won't allow you to put a game out there that's critical of China. I'm 99% confident in that.
Oh, that's the question, isn't it? See, I am becoming a little bit of an Epic Games defender. And it's less because of what Epic is doing and more because of how shit everyone else seems to continue to be. And it's just like, okay, the exclusivity thing is my primary complaint about them. And I'm just like, okay, well, that's an old ass tactic. It's a dumbass tactic. And I wish it was one they would not engage in, but they're paying people more. And at least they're not engaging in price fixing, which is what Valve is recently accused of. I'll touch upon that later. And I'm just kind of like, if they had just taken that money, because they've spent hundreds of millions on securing exclusivities, and if they just use that to actually, build a storefront before launching it, I don't think I would ever had a whole lot to complain about them. It's just, it really annoys me because they have all this money and yet they decided to not use it on making an actually good product. Instead, they want to hold you to ransom. Like, you want to buy this game? Well, got to come over here first. And then there's the Tencent thing. And this is the big problem here, right here. So it was a problem that was in a way kind of maybe solved. I'll link you this article here by Cheeto Hitler. Thrice cursed to be his name, because it's YouTube. I gotta condemn, otherwise I'm not long for this fucking world. But he put down the boot here and said, no, you don't get to have Chinese companies just owning an infinite amount of stock in US companies, because it's a bloody security risk, and it is. But now, Tencent is negotiating with elements of the new administration about keeping all of their stakes in these gaming businesses. They've got a 40% stake in Epic now, and they outright own Riot Games, along with tons of other companies as well. I think they still have TikTok and WeChat in the US as well, because they didn't actually get through with those removals, but I could be wrong on that.
They're still here, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah. And the problem there is, again, Tencent is not just a company, it is a governmental entity, and it acts on behalf of the Chinese government, which is not a necessarily friendly government. And when you then see them buying up yet further companies from what the uncharitable interpretation would be shell companies, you're starting to realize just how much economic power they're starting to get. Now, the CEO of Epic Games says that Tencent is merely an investor. They have no influence on their decisions whatsoever, but
That's false. I can tell you that for a fact that is completely false. That is a big lie. Also, that's the same. That's Tim Sweeney, right? He's a
Yeah.
pathological liar. So yeah, don't take his word.
Because that's the problem. Like, you can say that all you want, but if a company comes up to you with just a literal bag of money and goes, here, and you're like, no strings attached.
No strings
But yeah.
attached. Yeah, no. The thing about Tencent, like, that's the what. Oh, there's so many good games. Like the guys that made Don't Starve and Auction Not Included are now Tencent sellouts. Same for GTFO. Games that I was actually liking that I've actually refused to play anymore and cover on my channel because I will not support Chinese companies and corporations. Like I do not want to do that. Because they're already very imperialistic as is. They're getting their tendrils into everything. They're basically the Disney equivalent for gaming. Like they're infesting everything. They have to be stopped.
Well, good luck with that, I guess.
Yeah,
And
good luck
in this case
indeed.
too,
Because they control like everything of value.
with the acquiring of Artstation as well, they've just got another major inroad in a different part of the gaming industry as well. Because Artstation is used by a lot of industry professionals too to
Yes.
show off their stuff, to have their portfolios and so on there. And I would not be surprised. I mean, we'll have to wait and see. Maybe we're being overly pessimistic, but I would not be surprised to see some new guidelines pop up. You know, innocent guidelines are, oh, you gotta be a bit more sensitive. You know, a little bit more careful in the sexualization and so on, until you eventually end up at the position where we are now in, well, mainstream comics, for example. There was the recent blowout on Twitter over a Spider-Man cover showing a pretty hot MJ, which was then fixed by another artist, basically drawing her as not attractive anymore. And this caused a whole furor. And the thing is, this is now the norm. Unattractive characters in entertainment is the norm. You can look at the latest entries into the BioWare series. Look at recent CRPGs, RPG games. Attractive female characters are becoming very few and far between, and that's not an accident. It's not something that just happens. Oh, whoopsie. I guess we made them ugly again.
Yeah, no, that's an active decision. You have to approve that, sign off on it, and then it's like, yep, this is canon. And the art director has to know that as well, or whoever's in charge. Like, I want the character to do this, this, this. Like, it's okay to have like unattractive fat characters and stuff like that, but generally the idea, at least from what I was taught and what I learned in the industry so far, is that you want characters and you want them to both be good and ugly, because you need the good characters to always stand out. And generally the rule of thumb is that the protagonist characters or the mainline characters, even if they're an antagonist, are somewhat good looking, because people generally like looking at good looking people, whether you're a guy or a girl. It's just kind of like natural. You don't like looking at this big gelatinous blob unless you're playing a Resident Evil game where you're supposed to be looking at a big gelatinous blob that's ugly. You know? Uh,
Weird that.
it's strange. People don't like looking at grotesque things 24/7.
Downright odd. And yet, we have fixed this problem now. Although, interestingly enough, this is also a trend we are slowly starting to see swing in the other direction again. I don't know. Maybe I'm being overly optimistic, and I feel like I kind of am, but I think we are over the hump, and we might actually be seeing a bit of a return to normalcy over the course of the next, half decade or so. In fact, let me send you one little side article here, which is kind of relevant to this.
Okay.
Marvel's Star Wars variant cover art commemorates LGBTQ Pride Month. It's not even Gay Pride Month anymore. It's alphabet soup Pride Month.
Okay. As somebody who knows a lot of gay people, the fact that they throw LGB and then they add a bunch of other shit they just keep making up on there is kind of hilarious. They try to group them up because they're trying to group them into a larger population. Because the thing is, they're a minority is the reality. And whatever, that doesn't really matter. But the thing is, they want more people, so they can be like, oh, this group is underrepresented, but there's like only 12 of them. So like, throw another letter in there. All right, that's 13. Another letter. We need it to be a larger section of the population.
We just need a bit more people. Okay, it's fine. But if you look, if you scroll down a little bit and you look at the variant covers, right? They've got these little links there to the characters' pages. Let's take for example the pilot Irike Quell. That is a very dumb name that I do not approve of, but oh well. And so you've got this picture here. You can show that on screen. That's her Wikipedia. So that's like the official Star Wars thing of how she looks, right?
Okie doke.
That's more of the classical kind of slightly ish, like not unattractive, but also like very androgynous style character that has become so very popular these days for some ungodly reason. And here is the variant cover.
Okay.
Is that not a pretty goddamn massive difference?
It is a colossal difference. This one is a little bit, well, definitely more feminine by comparison to the previous image.
Like this one looks like a cheeky, attractive tomboy kind of style, you know?
Oh, wait. You forget. Remember, tomboys are just trans. Okay. The attack on.
I reject. I reject this.
Don't forget that Western society now attracts women who still happen to be like boy stuff. If you're a girl and you like male things, then you're just trans.
This.
Because we must be imperialistic in all things.
I reject this.
You can reject this all you want, Arch, but it's inevitable. They're converting them into trans female to male, and you're just gonna have to deal with it.
Like I reject. I can't reject any harder. Okay, I just can't. But this is one of my point too. Like this, granted, this is their whole little LGBT nonsense thing. And Lando Calrissian is now a gay character, by the way. I know nobody knew this, but
what?
There you go. It's fine now.
It was implied.
Oh yeah, he's at the bottom.
Okay, whatever. That's so stupid. But retcons aside,
retcons aside. Suddenly you have Star Wars, the goddamn Disney property, even if it is for a cringe campaign, having tons of variant covers, all with attractive females? What? Disney? Did you fall and hit your head? What's wrong? It's weird, but in a good way for bloody once. I don't know. I think maybe the problem is then, right? Okay, if we switch out the left-wing censor for the Chinese censor, which
bad.
one are we better off with?
I'll take neither. We don't have to take any of them. The hell with both.
Don't we, though?
The hell with both.
Don't we, though? Well, Epic disagrees, as it now has purchased Artstation, and it's now a Chinese company, Kyle. Enjoy.
I know. Most of my my art colleagues and friends have abandoned them already.
Well, you know, stay optimistic. Maybe it'll be slightly less catastrophic than you think.
Doubtful.